The Great Twin Switcheroo Adventure. Once upon a time, in the town of Tickleberry, there lived a pair of twins named Tilly and Tommy. Now, Tilly and Tommy were not just any twins, they were identical twins, so identical that even their mom sometimes had to double-check who was who. These two were masters of mischief and loved playing tricks, especially when it involved swapping places. They looked exactly the same freckles on their noses, same curly hair, and even the same gap-toothed smiles. But their personalities? Completely opposite. Tilly was daring and adventurous, always ready to climb a tree or catch a frog. Tommy, on the other hand, preferred reading his comics, inventing little gadgets, and eating sandwiches. One sunny Saturday morning, Tilly woke up with a brilliant idea. She nudged Tommy awake. "Tommy," she whispered, "let's do a whole day of switcheroo." Tommy yawned, rubbing his eyes. A whole day? But what if people figure it out? That's the fun part. Tilly grinned, already pulling a sweatshirt over her pajamas. "Let's see how long we can fool everyone." And so, the Great Twin Switcheroo Adventure began. Phase 1, School Mishap. Tilly and Tommy's first stop was Mrs. Blumble's cooking class. Tilly, pretending to be Tommy, wore his favorite blue cap and a serious expression. She tried hard not to laugh when Mrs. Blumble handed her a bowl of ingredients and said, "Now, Tommy, I know you're not usually the best cook, so let's try not to set anything on fire today." Tilly, usually a pretty good cook, pretended to fumble with the flour, causing a huge cloud to puff up over the bowl. Mrs. Blumble sighed. "Oh dear, that's very Tommy-like." Meanwhile, Tommy, disguised as Tilly, was in Mr. Pickle's gymnastics class. Tommy couldn't do a cartwheel if his life depended on it, but he tried his best. He stumbled over his feet and tumbled like a sack of potatoes. Mr. Pickle scratched his head. "Tilly, are you feeling all right? You're usually as graceful as a gazelle." Tommy just grinned sheepishly. I guess I'm having an off day." Phase 2, the principal's office. By lunchtime, everyone was thoroughly confused. Tilly and Tommy decided it was time for the ultimate test, the principal's office. They marched in, side by side, perfectly synchronized, and knocked on the door. "Come in," said Principal Poppins, not looking up from his paperwork. "Principal Poppins," they said in unison, trying their best to look as serious as possible. "We've got something to tell you." The principal looked up, his eyebrows nearly hitting the ceiling. "Oh dear, there's two of you today?" "We're twins," they said again in unison. Then they started switching sentences back and forth, confusing the principal even more. Tilly said, "We think we deserve a," Tommy added, "day off from school tomorrow. And maybe a pizza party." Tilly finished, winking. Principal Poppins scratched his head. Now, you two. I know you're always up to some trick or another. But let's make a deal. If you both do 5 laps around the school without mixing each other up, maybe I'll think about that pizza party." Tilly and Tommy grinned. They ran out of the office and immediately switched back to being themselves, so they could sprint together without getting mixed up. Phase 3, the family dinner. By evening, the twins had confused nearly everyone they knew. But the real test was dinner with their family. They had to keep their switch going the whole time to complete the Great Twin Switcheroo Adventure. They sat down at the table, pretending to be each other just as their mom served spaghetti and meatballs. "Tommy," Mom said to Tilly, "do you want extra meatballs?" "Oh, yes, please," Tilly said, trying to sound like Tommy and doing a not-so-bad job at it. Then Dad looked at Tilly. Tilly, did you finish your book on rocket science? Tommy gulped. He hadn't read a single page, but he tried his best to sound convincing. Sure, Dad. I'm really rocketing through it. Just when they thought they were in the clear, Grandma came in with dessert, her famous chocolate cake. And she had her super sharp glasses on, the ones that made her see every little detail. Grandma squinted at Tilly, then at Tommy. Hold on a second, she said, pointing a fork at them. You're not fooling me. The twins held their breath. Tommy, you've got Tilly's favorite spaghetti sauce on your shirt. And Tilly, you've got Tommy's comic book stuffed in your back pocket. The twins burst into giggles. They had almost made it through the whole day. From that day on, Tilly and Tommy knew they couldn't fool Grandma, no matter how hard they tried. But it didn't matter. The Great Twin Switcheroo Adventure became their favorite story to tell, and they made sure to try it every once in a while, just to keep everyone on their toes. And as for Principal Poppins, he kept his promise. The next week, the whole class got a pizza party, though no one was entirely sure why.